Thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Brent. We have an exciting conversation coming up, but let me let you know something. This week is NFL Draft Week. And guess what? A few of my friends stopped by to share their draft day experience. So make sure you subscribe so that you can catch Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's editions of Conversations with Brent. What was that like for you? Because as fans, people want to know, like, man, they get flown to visit this, that, and the other. What is that like from your experience?
I would say surreal, because it's like, it's something that you dream of your whole life, and it kind of just hits you out of nowhere.
One, two, three, four.
Thank you for joining the next Conversations with Brent. I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed and liked and even left a comment. It's greatly appreciated. Today, you're going to meet a dynamic young man who's going to talk to you about perseverance and making dreams come true. Marv, what up, bruh?
What to do, B? I appreciate you having me, brother.
Hey, man, thank you for making time. I know you got a lot going on, so I appreciate the time.
Anytime.
So I think it's very appropriate. We're talking at this point, the NFL draft is coming up and, you got snubbed a little bit. I don't think you were invited to the combine and you weren't drafted, but you played 7 years in counting?
Yes, sir.
And so I think it talks to that it doesn't make a difference where you start, it's where you go. What would you say? And I'm quite sure there was a sizable chip on your shoulder because I know you. And not being invited to the combine and going undrafted, did you have like a hit list of people like, oh, I know I'm better than him?
Not necessarily. I just have to prove to myself that I was who I said I was, no matter what nobody thought. A lot of times people put things on you that are not true, or they judge you by your size or something you may have said. But for me, I believed in God, and I knew God had something special for me. And so therefore, I just put my best foot forward and, just let him kind of lead the way.
And that's awesome. And I think it's so important that people realize that God has a very special significance in your life. And, you hear a lot of people, and sometimes, you don't want to judge people's relationship, but some people be like, I don't know about you. Are you saying because it sounds cliche or what? But I know for you that it is very essential. And where'd that element come from for you?
Honestly, just through trial and error, I guess, going through life, understanding that, not everyone's going to be who you want them to be. So you have to be who you have to be for you. And as life went on, being alone a lot of the times made me look like, okay, well, where can I turn? A lot of things you can't call your mom or dad for. You can't call some of your friends for it. You can't call your girlfriend or your significant other, whoever. And I just, I had to sit there one day and I came to the conclusion, like, okay, well, Marv, if you only have you, who is another source that you can look up to? And of course, it's the Heavenly Father, of course, upstairs.
All right. And what would you say? Because knowing the NFL is a grind, and this, as a fan, we look at it from, hey, that's my favorite team, this, that, and the other. But you all have to deal with the business aspect of it. What do you feel made you successful? What was the key to your success of lasting as an undrafted free agent?
Controlling what I can control, understanding that only thing I can do is give, good energy, give a positive attitude, and just work as hard as I can, and not trying to do other people's job. My job was to be the player, and I just came in as the player.
Good deal. So, going to take you back a little bit to the whole, leading up to the draft and team visits. What was that like for you? Because as fans, people want to know, like, man, they get flown to visit this, that, and the other. What is that like from your experience?
I would say surreal, because it's like, it's something that you dream of your whole life, and it kind of just hits you out of nowhere. For me, I was kind of just high off life all the time. So I really never thought about, okay, when I get there, I'm going to do this, or, this is going to feel like this. I kind of just embraced the moment. And when it came, it just, like I said, it was very surreal.
Okay. And so you've been in the league, you've played a couple of different teams, you've been able to prepare yourself for when that day comes, and it's not over yet, but when that day comes, you prepared yourself. What would you say your biggest aha moment was coming to the NFL? Would it be like your first touchdown, your first catch? What was like, I'm here?
When I stepped in the building, honestly, when I sit next to some of the players I looked up to, that's when I knew I was there. When I was able to press that code and my number worked to get in the building, I said, "Oh, it's real."
Right. They say it
It's
ain't
real.
like you're going to be like access denied, get out of here.
Oh yeah, so I pressed them buttons. I call my mom right away. Oh, we made it. And most people are like, "Oh no, I didn't make it until I do X, Y, and Z." I made it when I got on that plane, because at the end of the day, we weren't supposed to even get there. So I
Right.
just was grateful to even get the opportunity to walk in that building. So I was present in the moment.
That's awesome, man. I think it's so important that people have those small measurables. When I talk about goals, for me, goals is an acronym, going out after life seriously. If you don't have goals, then you're not serious about life. And I think sometimes we don't set incremental goals. We set this huge goal and it scares us, but then you have to break it down into bite-sized pieces and say, okay, first thing, I got to make sure I'm good health-wise, hands are good. Then, like you said, get in the building. Once I'm in the building, I got to stay in the building and those. So, what's some of the steps you took, man, to just get to where you are? Because, like I said, I keep reiterating undrafted because a lot of people think, oh, man, I didn't get drafted or this or that. Nobody picked me. I didn't go to college. I didn't this, I didn't that. People put a lot of excuses. Like you said, you had to rely on yourself. So what was that made you give you that fortitude is the word I want to use to even though things didn't go maybe the way you thought, you still arrived at the destination.
Understand that I had people depending on me. So, like I said, living in that moment, I didn't really too much worry about what people said or what was going to happen. It was you're here. Live in the moment. You know you may not have got this or that, but you're here now. You can't look at what you don't have. You got to look at what you have. And so for me, it was just like whatever opportunity I got, however I got in there, I was going to kick the door in. So, that was kind of my motto coming into the NFL for sure.
Right. So played with several different teams. What would you say was your favorite team, just maybe scheme wise or city wise, or just what was that one place maybe that you really liked?
I say Atlanta my first run. It was new to me. I
Okay.
got to play with one of the goats, which was Julio Jones, and that was surreal too. To be able to bag him up. So if anything, I would have to say, yeah, Atlanta.
Okay. Good deal. And that, of course, that's where we met through Lee. Shout out to Lee. But
Shout out Lee for sure.
so, man, as you continue to go on, like I said, it's almost I feel like I'm almost at an unfair advantage because we talk so much, and it's like I know what your passion is and I know your drive, but what's maybe one other thing that really drives you to be who you are? Because for you to be in a position you are, you're very low key, you're very humble. But then I think of something Deion Sanders said, and it's one of my favorite quotes. He said, "Don't let my confidence offend your insecurities."
Uh-huh.
And I think about you at that time because some people be like, "Oh, he seemed this way," but then when they get to know you, they see you as cool as a fan. But I think they just don't understand the quiet confidence that you exude. Where's that come from?
Just understanding that words mean nothing. Action is everything. And I've been like this since a kid. If you go back and ask my mom and my dad, I was never a person to really want to be seen, but I was seen because of my presence. I walk with purpose at all times, and most times, like you said, that can offend people in a sense because, like, okay, do he think he is? Me personally, it's not who do I think I am, who do I know I am, who the God put me on this earth to be. So for me, it's just like, be who you are at all times, no matter what the consequence is or whatever people may say or think, because in the day, the only person you can be is you.
And I think that's so key, man, to be who God called us to be. Last year, I started hearing this statement and it resonated with me. It says, other people's opinion of me is none of my business. And it's called a personal opinion for a reason. Keep it to yourself because I don't want to hear it. So
Okay.
when you say that, it makes me think of that. So ask you this, your relationship with God, how has it enabled you to navigate everything you've navigated? And like I said, we've been together a few years, so know some of the ups and downs in this, but how has that really sustained you? Because I think a lot of times people talk about their relationship with God, and then you see them kind of wild out, or they waver, which we all do, but you've always been steady. What has helped you to stay that constant steady with your relationship?
Making mistakes and understanding, like I said, through all my mistakes, through all my trial and error, he's still there no matter what. He made a promise, and I know he would never forsake me. Because same with myself. I preach God, but I don't do everything godly. You know, some things we do in life are worldly, but you have to have a balance of both. And for me, what I realized is by giving more to him and allowing for his will to be done, there's nothing in this world that you cannot obtain or get. So that's kind of where it kind of clicked for me in my understanding of life.
Okay. Do you have most people have a favorite scripture or something that's like their go-to when they struggle or whatever they go to? What's yours?
Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart and not lean on your own understanding. And always submit to him and he will lead your path straight. And that's one that sticks with me. I have by my bed now. I preach it to people day in and day out because a lot of people want to understand why they're going through this or why something happened or why this person said this, but it's like it's not nothing that the person is doing. It's what God is putting you through. And once you pass that test, of giving your life to him, he will lead your path straight for sure.
Yeah, and I think, man, sometimes we always want to know the whys, and sometimes the why don't even matter. It ain't gonna change.
Definitely. And, a lot of things we go through in life, we need to go through. It's what I realized.
Yeah.
Because it helps you to become the best version of yourself. And that's ultimately what we want to do day in and day out, just become 1% better.
If you can think of one, what's one thing you feel like you went through that made you the man that you are now?
That's a hard one. Probably stepping away from my mom. I say being away from my mom for the first time.
Okay.
Because I'm a mama's boy. Mama was always right. Mama always did. Mama said it, that's what it was.
Right.
But once I left out of her house and I got on my own in college, and I had to see, like I said, I had to kind of fend for myself, start to think for myself, and put myself in the positions I need to be in as a man because Mama couldn't teach you how to be a man. So I say when I stepped out of my mom's house, it was kind of like, all right, it's time to turn that little knob up a little bit and be the best version of yourself, like I said.
Yeah. And man, I think we underestimate, well, we don't, but sometimes we do. We take that mother-son relationship for granted sometimes. And
Okay.
when as we talked, lost my mom at 19, and when you don't have that mom that you can pick up the phone and call or to just chop it up with, man, it's like a void is there. So when you move away that first year to go to college, I know what that void is like. And it's like, man, you just don't understand that impact. That's why it bothers me, people that have parents that are still alive and they be beefing over something that happened 20 years ago. You was a
Yeah.
kid. That blows my mind, man.
Yeah. And that's something I talk to, a lot of my friends about. Because me personally, I'm not a person who holds grudges. Before anything, I would just walk away for a second, take time to reflect, and just recharge myself. Because at the end of the day, like you said, a lot of things that we go through with our parents or with our friends, with our, colleagues, whatever it is, it's not as big as we make it. With a little understanding, with some ownership of what it is that you did or what you didn't do. Now I tell how teens start to realize, damn, like the situation's not even that big. At the end of the day, we can always agree to disagree. We don't have to agree with everything that this person says or I say. It's kind of one of the things where it's like, okay, I understand you understand me. To where once we have understanding of each other, we allow each other to be who we are.
Yeah, and I thank you for saying that, man, because so many times people feel like because you're a Christian or you believe in God, you have to be perfect. And none of us are perfect. And we may not always get it right. We may not always do it right. But God, as his word says, he's faithful and just to forgive us of all our sins. And it the way I want to say it, it attributes to our maturity and growth. If you haven't gone through anything, then there's no growth. You know, I think of the parable when you talk about planting a seed, and it takes the seed to break through the soil and everything, but it gets its strength, it gets its everything from that, that it makes that person that much stronger. The other one I like to think of is the caterpillar and the butterfly is such a metaphor to me, because the caterpillar takes the words out of its own mouth to spin the cocoon that it goes through its metamorphosis, its change through. But it's the struggle of breaking out of the cocoon that causes the butterfly to fly, because it pushes the fluid to the full extent of the wings. So if you like, oh, I'm gonna help this butterfly out and help him out the cocoon, you're basically killing it, because now it won't be able to fly. And I always love that metaphor, man, because it's what comes out of your mouth and the struggle that gets you to where you are.
Yeah, that's very true. And the things most people go back to God, that's always my source. I call it playing God, like how you said, not allowing people to grow. People try to turn people into what they want them to be, opposed to allowing them to become who they're supposed to be. And once again, that goes back through God.
Yeah.
Because, 9 times out of 10, when you want something to move fast, or you want this person to think how you want them to think or do what you want them to do, you're trying to turn into something that God's not ready for them to be. He's still watering his plant. You understand what I'm saying? And at some point, when you, like you said, you plant that seed, the harvest will grow. And when the harvest grows, that's when it's fully nourished. You understand what I'm saying? So now you can enjoy those fruits. And 9 times out of 10, that's people's problem today. They don't allow people to be who they are. They want them to be who they expected them to be. And that's why I have the saying that I use. Don't put your expectation of me on me. Who you want me to be. I'm going to be who I am. Now it's up to you to determine if you can tolerate this or you can't. If you
Right.
can't, I'll tolerate that. If you can, let's rock.
Let's roll. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, knowing about you, one thing that I've always admired is the way you get back to your community. Uh, you stay in touch with your Pee Wee coaches and the things you do. Why do you feel that's important, that they see you giving back and coming around to practices and games when you're able to?
That's me. That's where I come from. I was just kind of talking to my lady about that earlier. Um, I used to feel guilty, like you don't know that it's a better life. You don't know that you can. You don't know that there's someone that believes in you because of the upbringings that we have. It's humble beginnings. So for me, it's like all I wanted was a me. Now some people, yes, like how you said, I consider them false prophets because they would come and talk, but they would go do something else. So they wasn't really engaged with us. They just was trying to make themselves look good. Me personally, I'm a person who wants to create that relationship with you, to let you know, like, I'm not just a football player. I became a man because of these moments, because of the things I had to endure and go through, and 9 times out of 10, when they see someone who's relatable to them, they'll listen. And me, I'm a person that a lot of people can relate to because of the realness inside of me. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely. And as you talk about becoming a man, next month hit that dirty 30. So,
Yes, sir.
and
My
it's,
hey, milestone.
yes, and it's funny because when I found out when your birthday is, it made sense in the fact that you and Kendall are 2 days apart, and
Yes,
y'all's demeanors are so much alike. It's like, wow, they remind me so much of each other. And then knowing the birthdays are that close, same year and everything. So happy birthday early, man. I know it's gonna be epic. You always enjoy your birthday as you should. So,
definitely.
man, before we go, I have a trick question for you. This is my trick question.
All right.
What's one question you've always wished somebody would ask you but never have?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Most people don't ask who you are. They just, like I said, they put the expectation of you on you. So they expect you to be something that you're not.
Right. And so, with that being said, who is Marvin Hall?
Marvin Hall is a man of integrity. He's a loving, caring soul. He's very competitive. He's loving, compassionate, empathetic. He's understanding. He's also tough. He's hard. Um, He can't be an asshole. I call it what it is. You know, Marvin's the guy who's going to give you what you give him. You know,
Right.
but at the end of the day, he wants the best for himself, people around him, and also the people that's outside. Because at the end of the day, it'll make the world a better place.
Well, I would add a couple of things to that. Not just a football player, but my friend, my little brother. And man, I appreciate you so much.
Most definitely, brother. And I appreciate you as well, B. Much love always.
Yeah. So, man, hey, with that being said, we're going to call it a wrap, let you get back to your day. And once again, I thank you for taking time out to chop it up with me a little bit. And look forward to seeing you soon, bro.
Most definitely, bro. And God bless you and the family. Looking forward to seeing you as well.
All right. Thanks, Mar.
All right, no worries.
All right. Later.
All right, later.